Liyue's Lantern Rite is one of Genshin's best annual events. With Springtime Charms concluding a little over a week ago, I decided I wanted to make a video on it. Lantern Rites are always accompanied by a new limited time quest that pertains to the event. While not all of them have been amazing, this year's quest in my opinion is one of the best quests in the entire game. Unfortunately, the voice actor strike is still ongoing, meaning a lot of the characters that appear in this quest are left voiceless, with the most significant being Hu Tao. As this entire quest revolves around specifically Hu Tao, I decided instead of making a video focused around the character dialogue, I would recap the story myself. Springtime Charms is split up into 4 different stanzas, and I'll put timestamps in the description if you want to see anything specific. One last thing before we start, this event was streamed live on YouTube in 2 different parts. I didn't learn about selective recording until the second stream, so the first stanza will have my face and the chat background covering a bit of the game, so I'm sorry about that. While casually strolling through Liyue, we see Hu Tao all alone and by her lonesome self, so obviously our first instinct is to go and harass her. Unfortunately, her white knight Xiangling arrives just in time to stop us. Xiangling tells us how she simped for Hu Tao and bought her $30 skin, so we have to wait and see it. We also get to know that Hu Tao has been acting weird, blowing off Xiangling and acting distant. We're so engrossed in our conversation, Hu Tao manages to sneak up behind us and cover our eyes. The game makes a little joke about the voice actor situation, and Hu Tao lets us know that she's just stressed out about work. We offer to take Xiangling and Hu Tao out on a double date, but she ghosts us with some lame excuse about having a work meeting. Okay, like, it's fine. I've been ghosted before. I know all the lines. You don't have to lie to me. I get it. Xiangling, however, doesn't read social cues very well, so insists we all go out for dinner after her meeting. This is a subtle technique employed by Hoyoverse here called foreshadowing. And with that, the intro ends and we start the first proper quest, or stanza, as the game calls it. Liyue celebrates an 8 adepts face a hidden calamity. While checking out Liyue's street fair, we meet Keqing and the new 4-star Lan Yan. Keqing is showing off some commemorative coins and explaining their significance. Lan Yan interrupts her and spouts off a bunch of random information, so now we know that Lan Yan is a huge nerd. She apologizes for interrupting, but Keqing brushes it off because apparently she's part of a famous wizard family from Chenyu Vale. Lan Yan then explains her family is only distantly related to the historic Lan lineage that Keqing knows of. Despite that, Keqing is still impressed with her knowledge of the Guyon sigils, which are the symbols on the commemorative coins she's showing her, and says she may ask her for help later. I wouldn't exactly call that foreshadowing though, because obviously the brand spanking new 4-star is going to be plot relevant. The group finally joins the duo, and Keqing tells us she's still overworking herself. She then introduces us properly to Lan Yang, calling her a master craftswoman from the Chenyu Vale Artisans Association. Lan Yan gets a bit starstruck, and Xiangling annoyingly refuses to take the compliment. Lan Yan similarly refuses to be praised, so Keqing shows us some of her handiwork in the shape of little dolls called rattan figures, which are used in a street fair combat game, which doubles as the Lantern Rite minigames. There are 8 rattan figures that are inspired by the 8 adepts of legend. You'll notice she specifically said adept here and not adepti because the adept are actually just humans with adeptus-like superpowers. Keqing further explains that the Ming Shao Lantern this year is shaped after Dao Tu, who is a tree god that sat atop a divide mountain during the Archon War period. Xiangling asks about a story called the Sanctification of Dao Tu. During the Archon Wars, it was believed that behind the tree god was the realm of the dead, and that the tree itself acted like Anubis, judging your sins and preventing you from reaching the afterlife if necessary. Because of the Archon Wars, Dao Tu was forced to fight, which disturbed the realm of the dead, allowing the boundary to weaken and for death to start seeping back into the realm of the living. This is where the 8 adepts began the sanctification of Dao Tu, using a giant magic array to do so. Dao Tu's remains then became one with the ley lines to act as the new border between life and death in Liyue. And for those of you who are unaware, Lumine and Paimon have been in that exact border before during Hu Tao's story quest. The 8 adepts are then revealed as the 3 hermits of Guizhang, the 2 sages of Lianshan, and the 3 beasts of Dao Tu. One of the hermits being named Windreader, who practiced the art of Qimen divination, and whose ancestors formed the Lan clan that kept the practice alive. The second hermit is known as the Yunlei Angler, who was just really good with a fishing pole. In fact, he was so good with a fishing pole, he inspired the Yunlei swordsmanship technique, which is Keqing's style. So I guess that's canon now. The third hermit was known as the Wu Wang Kid, or Old Man Wu Wang. He was an expert with the Qi Huang sigils that he used to catch demons, heal disease, and protect the living from the presence of death. Oh, also, he liked to keep himself in a child form, which is a bit odd. His followers then formed the Wangshang Funeral Parlor, who are just ordinary people that guard the border using a secret art. Then Xiangling lore drops the Staff of Homo, which I guess isn't super significant, but I tried to get that thing 4 or 5 different times unsuccessfully, so hearing it mentioned caught my attention a little. The 2 sages were named Sage Hu and Sage Jian, with the former being a gourd crafter, and the latter being an expert in specifically bronze mirrors. Apparently very little is known about them other than the fact that they practice the secret art of Lianshan, which is where their name originates from. Finally, there is the 3 beasts of Mount Dao 2. Before we can learn about them, Ganyu interrupts and informs Keqing that Ningguang and the others have arrived, prompting Keqing to head back to work. Lumine then takes the opportunity to tell Ganyu not to work so hard, to which Paimon complains about everyone working so much this year. With all the good 5 stars now gone, Lanyan attempts to ditch us to find Hu Tao, but Xiangling once again can't read social cues and suggests we head there as a group. At the funeral parlor, Hu Tao and Ansu are having a frankly boring conversation about funeral arrangements. A character named Bai Wen arrives and tells Hu Tao that Ningguang has requested her presence at the Yujing Terrace. As she leaves, Ansu remarks that Hu family directors are very strong each generation. Again, foreshadowing. With Hu Tao gone, Undertaker Fairy Lady, yes, that's her actual name, continues business talk with Ansu. This is where we learn that the funeral is being prepared in advance, meaning the Feiyun commerce leader is dying and not dead. Ansu also asks that the information be kept private. At this point, the group arrives and Fairy Lady informs us that Hu Tao has just left. The group decides to eat without her and heads out while Ansu stares at Lanyan suspiciously. He saw the Feiyun Guildmaster speaking with Lanyan about a rattan figure, which he then found underneath the Guildmaster's bed. The rattan figure had a spell on it, causing both it and the entire room to become unnaturally cold. The Master's illness coincided with this meeting, suggesting that Lanyan may have cursed him with the rattan figure. Xiangling's dad isn't at the restaurant, but the group finds him in Yinger's shop, where we learn that Tamais is here. And not only that, he was here to get freaky with Yinger. Oh, and if you somehow forgot who Yinger was, she's the perfume lady who taught us how to use a crucible properly. Chef Mao had offered to take care of the store, while Yinger took Tamais to Bubu's pharmacy. But Lanyan takes his place so the restaurant can remain open while Lumine carries Tamais to Baiju. At the pharmacy, we meet Xingqiu and Chongyun, who informs Lumine that Xingqiu's great-grandfather had fallen ill, the same person Ansu and Hu Tao were making preparations for. Apparently, multiple doctors were unable to diagnose the master's illness. Butler Su insisted there was a curse, causing Xingqiu to bring Chongyun in. Chongyun then surmised that the chill was not caused by an evil spirit, but rather the fetter of death instead. Baiju arrives with Yinger and Timaeus, who remarks that he feels better. Baiju tells them that the exhaustion was caused by the long journey and not properly resting afterwards, and that the issue is not serious. After the lovers leave, Baiju tells Xingqiu that his grandfather's illness is actually more complicated. The snake then reveals that Tamais is suffering this same condition, but it's not an illness. It's extremely accelerated aging. That's why Tamais is able to recover, but the master is not. According to Chang Sheng, not even she has seen the affliction before, and Baiju's secret healing art was ineffective. This is where the story gets even more interesting. Chang Sheng tells us the healer duo host a clinic every year at Qingce Village during the Lantern Rite, but this year the medical issues were so severe they needed them to come earlier. Timaeus had also stopped in the village before coming to the harbor, so they ask if Xingqiu's grandfather had also visited. Xingqiu confirms that he had and asks if the rumor about a god's remains in Qingce Village could be causing this. There is apparently a hidden palace of Zhao formula enchanted with the 7 and 8 gates method, which suppressed evil spirits, including the god Dao 2. Baiju interjects and says the connection between Qingce Village and the illness does not pertain to god remains. Qingshen then says they would have been able to sense any god remains. Now if you're like me, this confused you a lot. I was told during stream that it's revealed during his story quest, which I skipped because he's a guy and doesn't seem that interesting. But after doing a smidgen of research on him, I realized he's actually a lot more interesting than I thought. Baiju says he will investigate Baiju says he will investigate Qingce Village further after Chi-Chi returns, so Lumine, Xiangyun, and Xingqiu part ways, but not before Xingqiu drops some more foreshadowing. He talks about Hu Tao's phrase, "Live in life, die in death. Keen to learn more about Dao 2, we decide to seek out Lan Yan for more information. Back at the scent of the springs, we learn Lan Yan has gone to find Hu Tao. Apparently Hu Tao had bought some perfume stuffs from Lan Yan, who was unaware who she was because of her outfit change. Lamau. Before we leave, Ying'er asks us to return this rattan doll that Lan Yan had left, which is also inscribed with a mysterious sigil. We don't find either Hu Tao or Lan Yan at the funeral parlor, but Fairy Lady informs us that Hu Tao is dealing with personal matters and directs us towards Zhongli, who is watching an opera nearby. Now unfortunately, Zhongli's beautiful voice is also locked behind the actor strike, which I was very upset about. We say hi to Yunjin and politely decline an opera performance before asking Zhongli where Hu Tao might be headed. Tea Master Liu Su sees the rattan figure we're trying to return and tells us the same Pentad Fortune conveyance talisman was found in the Feiyun Guild Master's bedroom when he fell ill. Paimon, Lumine, and Zhongli chastise him for fear-mongering, and the latter informs him that the sigil is actually the sign of Vice Ravan, which is an exorcism sigil. Basically, the rattan doll is not a curse, but rather a blessing. Not exactly groundbreaking news here. It's pretty obvious a playable 4-star would never be so outwardly evil, but it's still nice for in-game confirmation of Lan Yan's innocence. Zhongli tells us Hu Tao's job is incredibly important, which is the cause for her strange behavior lately. He then gives us a Rex Lapis fortune coin as a symbol to assuage our doubts. Zhongli has money? Tea Master Liu Su is equally shocked that Zhongli actually has money. The coin is supposed to have the blessing of Rex Lapis, but Zhongli tells him that it's a fake, and it has never passed through the hands of the late Geolord. Zhongli departs and Yunjin asks us to watch her opera. In exchange, she teaches us the remaining lore of the 3 adept beasts that Keqing couldn't finish. They are known as the Lone Butterfly of the Crimson Flame, the Jade-Plumed Silverwing, and the Gold-Eyed Kaldan Mare. The Lone Butterfly was the only one of the 8 adepts to sacrifice her life during the purification spell. The power of Dao 2 forced the 8 to employ a secret art called the 7 and 8 Gates Array, which would obfuscate one of the gates and the person in charge of it. The game is going to use the word obfuscate a lot in this story, so just know the definition is to render obscure, unclear, or unintelligible. In the context of the story, it means to erase from the world of the living, basically just kill them. Old man Wu Wing then kept her legacy alive, which is why the Wangsheng funeral parlor directors used the Lone Butterflies method to guard the border, because if you remember, Wu Wing's descendants are basically the funeral parlor. With that, Yunjin departs and Xiangling finds us and yells at us for not eating with her. We eat out with Xiangling, and with that, the first stanza of Springtime Charms is complete. 2 days later, Paimon and Lumine try to find Hu Tao again, only to be told by Fairy Lady that she hadn't returned. Fairy Lady then tells us that this disappearance is not unusual. Gaming shows up to deliver the Feiyun Commerce Guild funeral stuff, which lets us know that Baizhu was unable to find a cure. We decide to try and find Baizhu, but before we can, he finds us. He tells us that Qiqi still hasn't returned from her herb gathering trip 2 days ago. Changshen then informs us that Qiqi's orders let her return without herbs, but not late, meaning something is definitely wrong. The healer duo posted a commission, but all the adventurers got spooked and left without completing it, so now we're the only guild member that they trust to find her. So we head out to Wuwang Hill to lose our 50-50 to Qiqi once again. When we arrive, Paimon remarks that it seems creepier, and we find a couple of odd-looking hilichurls.
Is it just Paimon, or is this place creepier than ever? Paimon really hopes Qiqi's okay.
Oh my god! Monsters! They're blue. That means they're stronger and different than other monsters. We also find Lan Yan's rattan figures, suggesting that Hu Tao was also here. Paimon then makes this ingenious deduction about what happened to Qiqi.
1 second, Oh, okay. Hear Paimon out. Qiqi's a zombie, so her joints are stiff. That means she can't run too fast, and so she must have gotten kidnapped by a ghost.
While snooping around, we meet Yelan, who unfortunately is not voiced.
Ghost incoming!
Yelan! Yelan's not voiced either. God damn it! She tells us that she's been the one scaring off adventurers and warns us not to go any further. The health issues experienced at Qingce Village were traced back to Wuwang Hill, hence Yelan's insistence on keeping the place shut down. Yelan then explains that Ningguang knows what's going on with Hu Tao, and they assume that Lan Yan and Qiqi are with her, so she takes us to see the lady herself. Have you ever considered that you might just be a dog in a human's body? There are two wolves inside of you. Both of them are gay. We stumble upon Ningguang getting rejected by Beidou. Before the captain leaves, we overhear her talking about the Gate of Fright in Guyun Stone Forest. Why does Ningguang have claws on her 2 fingers? I feel like that would make some things very difficult, you know?
What? Ahoy there, Captain Beidou!
Ningguang then tells us that the trio of missing people are stuck inside the border. A month prior, the Ministry of Civil Affairs learned about the illnesses at Qingce Village. A few weeks later, Hu Tao informed them about a potential border issue, which led the ministry to discovering an ominous presence on Wuwang Hill. 3 days ago, Hu Tao volunteered to head into the border to investigate, but then failed to show up to her meeting yesterday. With all 3 missing persons' last known location being Wuwang Hill, Yelan is confident that they are all stuck in the border. Paimon remarks that the situation must be serious, seeing as Hu Tao is also stuck. Paimon volunteers us to travel into the border to scope out the situation, but since we don't know how to get there on our own, we have to track down the always edgy and ever elusive Zhao. Paimon and I head off, and when we leave, Ningguang tells Yelan that they found the gates of life, concealment, fright, and injury. All the gates are being quote-unquote taken care of except for the gate of injury because it's in the chasm. The location of the 4 final gates is still unknown though. Then I learned that the German translation for fetter is literally horrible smell. The translation for black smog thingy is literally horrible smell. Ningguang tells Yelan that it was Hu Tao's suggestion to use the 7 and 8 gates array as a final option, to which Yelan asks about the obfuscation cost. Then Ningguang just casually deflects the conversation. So Yelan's basically like, are you gonna kill somebody? And she's like, oh man, yeah, that sucks. I really don't want to do that. Let's talk about it later. We meet Zhao, but he initially refuses to travel with us, asking us to go get Yelan instead. The reason they give for this is weak though, saying that Yelan has a secret art and is experienced in battle, even though at this point Lumine has fought many gods and other powerful things. We attempt to use Zhongli's coin to trick Zhao, but he sees right through us and explains that he can't travel into the border with us.
He said we'd better get Hu Tao back, safe and sound, or there will be consequences.
Your attempts to mislead me are futile. The coin is clearly a counterfeit. It carries only the symbol of Rex Lapis and none of his power.
I fear the bad karma I carry would only disturb the border further. So while I can show you the entrance, I cannot venture inside with you. Basically, he wants to be able to save us because we're a weak and ineffectual girl. So you see, Zhao is a misogynistic man. After calling him out on this, he relents and takes us to the border. Zhao then ults so he can sense the fetter, or as it's known in German, horrible smell.
Evil conquering!
We find the entrance and Zhao gives us a forehead tattoo to share his power of perception with us. Ah! Mind break! Basically, we can now see the horrible smell trails while in the border. Oh my god, the horrible smell is leaking out. We gotta go find the entrance from where it's leaking out. Don't worry, Zhao, we will go investigate the horrible smell. As we journey through the border, we use Zhao's horrible smell sight to guide us, eventually finding a massive hole to jump down, but not before finding a little treat. Ooh, a chest.
The path ends here. Should we jump down? Isn't that how we did it last time?
Now, be honest with me. If you guys saw a random chest in Purgatory, would you eat the just chicken leg that you found in it? Would you trust the ethereal chest chicken leg? I think I would. While following the horrible smell trail, we find a couple of tainted hilichurls, letting us know that the border has weakened substantially. Oh my god, it's... Can I walk on this? Yeah. Monsters! We free one of Madame Yan's dolls from the horrible smell and follow it while I give chat some sage life advice. With your survival instincts, probably. It's chicken! It can't be bad for you. Did you guys know that the most nutritious way to eat chicken is raw?
The rattan figure is covered in fetter.
The rattan figure is covered in horrible smell. As we continue capturing the rattan figures, I also continue to advocate for the consumption of raw chicken. The most likely to get poisoned. No, it's good for you. You have to trust me on this. Would I ever lie or spread misinformation? No, I have all of your best interests at heart, you know? I would never steer you wrong. More bonus things to accompany the protein. Minecraft is lying too then? Yeah, it's a video game, come on. You're gonna believe Minecraft over me? I'm a real person. After collecting all the dolls, Lanyan's illusion spell breaks, and we're able to travel further into the border. Suicide is badass! I've been watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia recently. Disregard that sign, Frank, it's a bunch of liberal bullshit. Chad attempts to gaslight me, trying to make me think I say Dao 2 wrong, but I am not swayed and we end up finding the missing trio. Dao 2? What, did I say Dao 2 wrong? I thought, yeah, it's Dao, isn't it not Dao 2? Dao 2, the tree god. Chi-Chi is close to succumbing to the horrible smell, so Hu Tao lends a hand in keeping her awake. She grabs young Chi-Chi with both hands and buries her deep underground. By Rex Lapis, she'll never be found. Lanyan senses us breaking through her spell, and we finally meet up with the trio.
Oh, thank goodness we
Kimi no
found you.
toriko ni nata kemai bakito. Madame Yan asks how we found them in the border, and Hu Tao reveals she planned her potential disappearance around Ningguang's proactivity. Lanyan then informs us the reason they have been stuck is that the border is constantly shifting, and all the exits that Hu Tao have found so far have closed before they could use them. Zhao! We call Zhao's name, and he starts opening us an exit, but before we leave, a wave of admittedly non-threatening looking monsters attacks us. Alright, now I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I would kind of much prefer to use my C6 Arlecchino here than Chi-Chi and Lumin. Get your ass over here. Help, no. What? You guys don't like the horrible smell crack? You're not a big fan of the horrible smell crack? Well, that's on you, bud. Despite the awful team prepared for us, we managed to fend off the exit portal and make it out unscathed, except Chi-Chi, who had absorbed a significant amount of horrible smell. Zhao takes Chi-Chi to the pharmacy so we can report back to Ningguang. While on our way to the meeting, Chat and I discuss a couple things, including a new insecurity I managed to pick up. I don't think about what I say, I just I open my mouth and stuff comes out, you know? I vomit out words. I didn't say anything. You're making me self-conscious. You guys are making me self-conscious. You know, the other day, Lights was talking about having round shoulders, and I took a look at the camera and I realized my shoulders are super rounded. Do you see that? Like, look how round my shoulders are. Made me self-conscious about my shoulders. I've literally never, thought about my shoulders before in my entire life, and just because of that comment about having round shoulders, now I'm self-conscious about my shoulders. Where am I going? Congratulations on the new insecurity. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much. We love collecting new insecurities, like they're infinity stones. And the stones are engraved with I hate my shoulders. Yep. As we meet up with Ningguang and her and Hu Tao discuss the border situation, I found my Hu Tao voice starting to slip. Way worse, way worse. I've decided Hu Tao's voice is going to be a Vale girl accent. You see, a lot of characters in this year's Lantern Rite are still missing their English voices due to the ongoing voice actor strike. While attempting to mimic Brianna Knickerbocker's voice, I unintentionally started talking even higher, and the voice shifted into a sort of Vale girl accent. It's at this point during the stream, I decided I was going to give every single unvoiced character a new voice. I'm not going to make you listen to every voice line, I just think some of them ended up kind of funny. I'll still be cutting around and doing a voiceover summary, but if for some reason you want to listen to me do stupid voices unimpeded, you can check out the VOD of the livestream on the live section of my channel. Well, don't forget, the border isn't part of the natural landscape. It's more like an old house that's gradually falling apart. Body dysmorphia has been added to my playlist. Hu Tao continues to explain that the issues with the border have gotten too severe for the Wangsheng funeral parlor's secret art to burn all of the horrible smell, but while the issue is similar to Notland, there is no abyssal activity present. So it requires maintenance every once in a while, sometimes every few centuries, every other decade or so. And of course that is the responsibility of the Wangsheng funeral parlor. In the past though, the worst they got was a few small, bad smell leaks. I doubt it, I haven't found any traces of abyssal activity. Ningguang explains that while similar, the Night Kingdom is the realm of the dead, while the border is just simply that. A border. We then learn that the enhanced aging is a symptom of the border weakening as death is beginning to seep into the realm of the living, in the form of the horrible smell, aka fetor. While Hu Tao can deal with the horrible smell itself, the bigger issue is with the border. Think of it like a burst pipe. You can try and deal with the water spilling out, but no matter how much water you clean up, it'll continually spill out until you deal with the crack. Hu Tao explains that the 7 and 8 gates method will essentially become a complete reconstruction of the damaged section of the border border, as it's too far gone for any kind of patchwork job. Lumine and Paimon learn of the obfuscation cost, but Hu Tao reasons that there won't have to be a sacrifice due to the smaller scale of the repair as compared to the original sanctification spell. Remember that in the original story, the 8 adepts were purifying an entire god and turning them into the border, whereas we are currently just replacing a section of that border. Ningguang asks if the issue is related to the Wu Wang Hill disaster. That part was really interesting to me because it finally clicked that there was a significant reason to why Wu Wang Hill is spooky and run down. But Hu Tao tells us that there's no correlation, albeit with a slight pause. And in true Genshin fashion, Ningguang informs us that the rest of the quest will be unlocked 2 days later. So we head off to the Adventurers Guild for Lanyan to trauma dump on us in an attempt to make us want her bad enough to pull her. While descended from a famous line of Chimen diviners, the Yan fam has basically no prowess, even going so far as to say Lanyan makes more money with her crafts than her father's divinations. Even so, those same fortunes have all come up extremely negative, and the only answer her father could glean was the Wangsheng funeral parlor, which is why Madame Yan is here. You'd never stop talking about food, it's in your blood. I think that's called cholesterol. The game then goes on to have Lanyan recap the events we just witnessed. The only new and relevant information Lanyan reveals is that the Wu Wang Hill incident was more severe and personal than Hu Tao let on, so Paimon and Lumine decide to ask Hu Tao more. We catch Hu Tao staring at a picture and she warns us that she's been dreaming of the people in it because they're all gone.
Well, the people in this picture keep appearing in my dreams lately. And like, none of them are around anymore, so keeping you out of the picture is probably for the best.
She shows us the picture of her with her father and grandfather, explaining that the former died while she was very young. In fact, he died during the Wu Wang Hill incident that Ningguang and Lanyan were talking about. While attempting to cleanse the fetter from the hill, Hu Tao's father made a mistake and died instantly to the exposure. The fetter also wiped out most of the village and permanently scarred Wu Wang Hill itself. While her grandfather was able to clear out the fetter, the exposure he suffered took him to an early grave. Paimon remarks that it sounds like Hu Tao blames her father for the whole thing, and she says that she does. But she's mad at him because he was such an amazing and powerful spellcaster. If he had been a screw-up, she wouldn't have to hate him because his death wouldn't have meant anything. She talks about how even though she was a master of their arts at age 8, her father was already combating fetter by himself at the same age. Hu Tao is upset because the border crisis should have been nothing to a man as talented as her father, but nevertheless he failed. She argues that the failure stemmed from his unworthiness to be a director, citing the fact that he was too attached. Apparently, when a Wangsheng funeral parlor director is appointed, they must burn all of their belongings as a symbol of removing attachment to the realm of the living. But her father was unable to let go because of his father and daughter that he'd be leaving behind. He was afraid to lose them, and it was this fear that caused him to falter at the fatal moment. The game is doing an amazing job here at showing us a more serious and interesting side to Hu Tao. While introduced as a primarily funny and jokey character obsessed with coffins and funerals, we're now learning exactly why she takes her job so seriously, and that her job is way more complex and dangerous than we had ever known. Hu Tao then repeats the quote we heard Xingqiu mention earlier: "Live in life, die in death." And now that saying has taken on a new meaning with the context of the information we just learned. She further blames her father for not taking this quote to heart, showing us just how severely this incident impacted her. When Paimon questions the severity of her words, Hu Tao reveals that she's trying to honor his memory, which may sound a bit backwards, but she explains it really well. She reasons that a father's biggest fear is their children not being able to cope with their passing. So by talking trash and being outspoken, she hopes that her father will hear her and know that she hasn't changed. Paimon then asks her if we can really save her from the obfuscation of the 7 and 8 gates method, to which she says she believes so. And with that, the second stanza is completed. We meet back up with Hu Tao, Lanyan, and Ningguang, who inform us that more people in Liyue Harbor have become afflicted with fetter. Lanyan then reveals that it's spread to Yilong Wharf as well. However, Hu Tao says once the border is repaired, the fetter will dissipate and everyone will recover. Ningguang has found the last 4 gates, and during the ceremonies tonight, they plan on setting up Homa altars at each one for the cleansing. And since the gates are linked with the ley lines, the purification will spread throughout the entirety of Liyue, leaving no fetter untouched. Keqing is protecting the Gate of Life in Yilong Wharf, Ganyu the Gate of Concealment at Mount Aocheng, Beidou the Gate of Fright in the Guyun Stone Forest, Yilan with the Gate of Injury at the Chasm, Zhao and the Gate of Terrain at Dihua Marsh, Baizhu and Chengsheng the Gate of Repose in Qingce Village, Lanyan and Ningguang the Gate of Initiation in Liyue Harbor, and finally Hu Tao and the Gate of Death at Wu Wang Hill itself. And while this important lore is being revealed, Chad and I are talking about mozzarella. The things you would do to have a ball of mozzarella right now. What would you do right now if you were to have a ball of mozzarella on your desk, in front of you, in your hands, whatsoever, right now? What would you do for that ball of mozzarella? What kind of heinous, vicious, horrible crimes would you commit for one ball of mozzarella? Explain. You would eat it. You would pay 89 cents to have that ball of mozzarella. Gasp. A truly horrific crime to underpay for mozzarella. You would pay 90 cents? Jeez. Now let's not be crazy. Not all of us are Jeff Bezos. Paimon and Lumine are worried about Hu Tao since the Gate of Death is the most dangerous, but she refuses to worry. Hu Tao then asks us out on a date since she won't be able to participate in the festivities, aka more foreshadowing. Also, this screen cap is really cute. So we head out on our date with Hu Tao as the third stanza begins. Hu Tao wants to hand out fortune coins to all the people she is going to miss tonight. So first up is Qiqi, Baizhu, and Cheng Sheng at the pharmacy. Baizhu remarks that it's odd Hu Tao bothered to give him a coin, seeing as they're enemies. You know, because he's trying to be immortal, and she's all about death. She gives him the Sun Fortune coin, symbolizing peace and harmony in the world, with the wish that everyone is cured so he doesn't have to see their pain and suffering, and also so he'll go out of business. For Cheng Sheng, she gives the cross, a symbol of growth, prosperity, and balance, with the wish that she may regain her former powers and memories. And finally for Qiqi, she brings the peace coin, symbolizing safe passage and wishing for her to stay away from dangerous places, because of course Baizhu can't become immortal without Qiqi, and Hu Tao can't bury her if she can't find her. Before we leave, Baizhu transfers a bit of his life force to Hu Tao to help her stay alert while guarding the Gate of Death. Next, we meet up with Yunjin, and for some reason, this is what I decided she should sound like. I think I know what voice Yunjin should have. Oh, Hu Tao. Wait, that's racist, hold on. Is this about the other day? I swear I didn't say anything bad about you. They were just trying to find out where you'd gone. You're like the top performing artist in all of Liyue Harbor. And like, I wish you success beyond measure. Hu Tao tells Yunjin she won't be able to deliver Xinyan's coin tonight because she's gonna die, and asks her to deliver it for her. We lie to Yunjin that Hu Tao's job will only be a little dangerous, and she offers to sing a song for Hu Tao later. But because the game has zero subtlety with foreshadowing, she asks for it now instead. We then learn that Yunjin lost a bet and has to sing Hu Tao's Hilichurl theme in her own style. Oh, don't play dumb, you know why? Hu Tao's a sassy little brat who always gets whatever she wants. Mostly because she's so adorable that no one has the heart to turn her down. La 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 life, what is this? Unfortunately, as Yunjin is not voiced, I had to take some artistic liberties with this one. Sigh, you're unbelievable. Alright, I'll sing, but please do not laugh at me. Silly churl, Billy churl, silly Billy Hilly churl. Does that do it for you guys? As we're leaving, Yunjin forces us to promise her we'll come see her perform soon, to which Hu Tao agrees. Because like I said, Hoyoverse has the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Next up is Xiangling showing off her brand spanking new outfit with an admittedly adorable guoba hat. Hu Tao then gives her the career fortune coin, wishing her success with the restaurant. She then passes Xingqiu's family fortune and Chongyu's spirit and vigor coin, asking the same request to pass them on when she's no longer here. I mean, because she's working. We head off with Hu Tao giving a final promise to Xiangling to have dinner and not to stand her up after the ceremony, just in case you've been missing this theme that's being hammered into your skull.
Is there anyone else you want to give a coin to?
But of course, surely you didn't think I'd forgotten about
you, sorry.
Us too?
I didn't read what she said, I was too busy looking at Mavwika in no particular place at all. After arriving at the funeral parlor, Hu Tao gives Paimon the treasure coin, which doesn't really need any explanation. She then gives us a very special gift. She reverse stripped. Sorry. This plum branch is she gave us her hat thingy? Explaining that we're very popular and bound to receive a lot of coins, so she wants to give us something memorable. Something that will always remind us of her when we look at it, because she's going to die. Also, we learn that the plum branch she's given us is extra special because she planted it when she was young. We then gift Hu Tao our Rex coin, which she's stoked about, and we depart. As the traveling duo fades away, the game gives us another death flag as the eminent Zhongli approaches. Zhongli asks if Hu Tao is certain about her choice, to which which she responds that she must rise to the challenge. She confesses that she's not sure if the array will kill her, but she has to drive death back anyway. She then asks Zhongli about the Rex coin we gave her, and he tells her that it's used as a good luck and protective charm. Hearing this, Hu Tao asks Zhongli to return the gift. The puzzled Zhongli inquires further, and Hu Tao explains that Lumine traveled to the land of the dead, and has thus far been fortunate enough to escape unscathed. But even so, the journey for her brother and the unknown god only gets more dangerous. So if the coin can actually protect someone, she wants it to be Lumine. Zhongli concedes, but also informs her that Lumine had wanted the same thing. Hu Tao then responds that that is the exact reason she can't keep it. If she does die tonight, she doesn't want Lumine to find her dead with the coin, assuming we would end up blaming ourselves for the tragedy. Zhongli then says he understands, because of course, he has a cool tragic backstory and he's the best character in the game. Zhongli then says the coin is also a symbol of her attachment to the mortal world, and Hu Tao responds that attachments are an easy vice to acquire, and vows to not repeat her father's mistake. She then tells Zhongli that he will become the 78th director if she falls to the ritual, to which Zhongli replies that she is irreplaceable. Repeating the same motto, live in life, die in death, Hu Tao comes to terms with her possible demise. Zhongli then tells her to focus on the present and not worry about her father's mistakes, before reminding her of the rest of the saying, follow your heart and do what you can. Hu Tao then departs, remarking about the beautiful day and reciting a poem. A butterfly dances in a crimson bouquet, for fear of the ominous rainfall that may soon show its face. With one last lingering glance at that carmine hue, she lies among the petals in the garden of eternal rest, as she sets the floral incense ablaze. Zhongli then finishes. The lone butterfly left, but not without a trace. A fragrance remained, her butterfly's embrace. I gotta talk like this all the time. 2 days later, after meeting up with Ningguang and Lanyan, the traveler duo learn the awful news that the obfuscation cost is mandatory due to the laws of the ley line, and, unsurprisingly, the Gate of Death will be the tribute. Lanyan reveals a backup plan, a rattan figure made in the likeness of Hu Tao. The figure is supposed to absorb evil energy in her stead, hopefully keeping her alive. Yan had connected several rattan figures to each gate in an attempt to evenly share the feather blast among them. Ningguang then says modern leeway draws its strength from unity now that Rex Lapis is no longer watching over them. But the feather is still incredibly dangerous, so she asks us for assistance, which we obviously agree to. Unfortunately, Lanyan is unable to connect us to the ley line array as the ley lines do not recognize descenders. Without Lumine's plot armor, it's pretty obvious Hu Tao is destined for death, as even the ley lines of her world are demanding it. Dejected, Lumine sits outside the funeral parlor with the figure and the plum branch.
This is where I pulled for Hu Tao when I got her the first time. I hung Chi-Chi off the door as bait.
The game pulls out the infamous forced walking sequence where Lumine and Paimon have a terse conversation as many different playable characters appear, trying to evoke the player's nostalgia and emotions seeing Liyue Harbor come alive, but without Hu Tao.
Yunjin, over here. Hu Tao asked me to give you this fortune coin.
Right before the ceremony begins, Zhongli approaches us and we take the opportunity to ask him to connect us to the ley lines.
Lumine's so
graceful and elegant and beautiful, but unfortunately his powers cannot overcome the Descenders. He then gives us the Rex coin, showing the traveler duo that Hu Tao has accepted her death. Seeing how upset we are at the lack of options, Zhongli drops this bombshell, although to be fair, it's not like it was that unexpected. Then the Lantern Rite ceremony begins, and I do my best to fill in for the voices that aren't present.
As we stand beneath this lantern-lit night sky, I would like to pay tribute to the ways of our forebears. We pray for the cleansing fire that exorcises evil, and for peace to prevail in our nation. Let the ceremony begin! Cutscene! Yeah. Oh. Redeem us, deliver us from evil. Hiya. Sorry, I missed the first one. I didn't realize she was talking. That's my bad.
The fire's almost out. Did we fail?
I have faith in the director. So, my time has come. There is no avoiding death, nor predicting its time. The duty of Wangsheng, I now fulfill.
Look!
Who is that? Who's that? Whose voice is that? Beacons in Minecraft. They're clearing the horrible smell. Next, Lantern Rite. If you see a butterfly, that's me coming back to see you all. See, that's the wrong accent for this cutscene. Well, I feel like I had to. And with that, Lantern Rite 2025 comes to an end. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, but I don't want to take up any more of your time than I have to, so as always, thank you for your time and have a wonderful day.
Yeah, that won't ever change. Yeah, sometimes I'm mad, sometimes I'm okay. Yeah, I know I'll have what I want someday.
Just kidding, that's obviously not it. Of course we're gonna do something about Hu Tao. I just couldn't resist a little joke. Ningguang confirms that the ritual was a success, but Hu Tao was gone, with Lanyan holding up the broken Raton figure as evidence. Paimon then finally notices that Lumine is gone. Of course we're gonna save Hu Tao. She makes way too much money to let die. Come on now. Lumine then does the Genshin thing of explaining exactly what has been revealed, that she can take Hu Tao's place because the ley lines can't connect to her, letting the ritual happen without Hu Tao's sacrifice. The game teases us with a free Staff of Homa that we can't wrench out of the ground. As we're inspecting the ritual site, Hu Tao's plum branch floats out of our backpack into the crack of the border. We're then switched to Hu Tao's view in one of the most beautiful domains I've ever seen. Backpack, backpack. Ooh! It's both a damn shame and such a great thing that Hoyoverse crafts such amazing one-off domains, just to make them temporary. Also, the music in this domain was gorgeous. This is gorgeous. This is actually amazing.
Promise you won't stand us up this time? Okay, I can get behind that. If you're a no-show, I'm sending the Traveler to track you down and drag you back to the dinner table kicking and screaming.
I love Liyue music so much. It's just so beautiful. As Hu Tao traverses through the afterlife, she meets some familiar faces. This would have made an amazing cutscene. Grandpa and Dad, are you here to take me to the other side? How'd I do as director, huh? Did I do the Wangshen funeral parlor proud?
Absolutely. You did 1,000,000 times better than me. Our little girl is the best.
Good. Then I can join you with no regrets.
We're proud of you, little lady. But we only came to see you because we've missed you.
I've missed you too, but are you saying you're not here to bring me into the afterlife?
Live in life and die in death. My child, your time has not yet come. Yes, the day of reunion will come in good time. There's no need to rush. Look, someone's here to take you home.
As the cutscene fades and I recovered emotionally, I remarked that if the English voices were present, then it would have been the best cutscene in the entire game. It's even more unfortunate because Lumine has so few moments in the game that are actually voiced. I'm aware that other languages are fully voiced and you may be wondering why I don't just listen to them instead. And there's 3 simple reasons. One being I don't enjoy listening to other languages that I don't understand, and since I'm an avid reader, just reading with no audio is more natural to me. The second reason is for these characters in this game, their English voices are their true voices to me. Having a different voice for a character I know so well just doesn't feel right, it just doesn't fit. And the final reason is reading the story out loud, especially in stupid voices, is more entertaining than just listening to quests for hours like a movie. It gets me a little more engaged, and it feels like I'm actually presenting the story in a unique way rather than just having the whole quest on YouTube with a bit of commentary here and there. As we leave the room, we are once again ambushed by Hu Tao, and with these serious parts of the quest now over, Valley Girl Hu Tao makes her curtain call moment. I recognize those dulcet tones anywhere, Zhongli. Ah, good. If you have the energy to joke around, it means you're making a good recovery. I'm so glad. It looks like I can stop worrying now. Like, welcome back, my hero. You really want to talk in glib pleasantries? Because I can out-glib you any day of the week if that's how you want to do this. Alright, so how are you holding up, girl? I'm doing great, thanks to a certain someone. You know, I was really surprised you came to rescue me. You took such a huge risk. When did you become so reckless? With the sanctification done, all that's left is to fulfill the promises we made to everyone when we thought Hu Tao was gonna die. And clearly at this point, the mental anguish had taken a toll on me, and my sanity had begun to crack. We gotta go find Xiangling. I think my way of speaking is permanently broken. I'm just gonna like totally talk like this for the rest of my life. You guys know that this is actually like the stereotypical California accent? Oh my god. It's like totally so unfair of them to label us like this. Oh my god, I'm broken inside. I can't stop. This is actually my voice. You guys have broken it. This is how I actually talk to people in real life. And then this is the voice that I put on for people. You guys know that? See, whenever I come on stream, I put on this fake voice to make myself more marketable. But this is actually how I talk now. I've just let my— oh my god, there's a cat up here. Totally awesome. Josh A? More like Josh Slay. That's gotta be simultaneously one of the worst things I've ever heard and one of the best things I've ever heard. I mean, sorry. Oh my god, that's gotta be like— oh, okay, sorry. Xiangling then tells us that Xingqiu's grandfather had recovered and gave Paimon an interesting new motto.
Always eat to your heart's content, lest your chopsticks wither with regret.
The group's having a pretty tame conversation about who the strongest adept is, and I take this opportunity to give Christina V, Chongyun, and Gaming some new voices. Ha, well, kind of. An open-ended debate, maybe. We're just shooting the breeze, really. Tells me that you and Hu Tao performed a very risky ceremony and cured great-grandfather's illness in that process. You will always find a helping hand at the Feiyun Commerce Guild. Yeah, I know, but my father and brother will thank everyone individually in the coming days. Whoa, Paimon, you can't stumble through a motto you live by. It's bad luck. It'll make your life full of stumbling blocks too. Come on, you can do it. One more time, from the top! I don't really like Gaming, that's why I gave him an annoying voice. Yujin then makes a reappearance to redo her opera for Hu Tao and Lumine. We then cut to Xiao and Yelan having an argument about the border, but in the spirit of Lantern Rite, they eventually make up with some almond tofu. We cut once again to Ningguang and Beidou discussing the implication that both Natlan and Liwei's catastrophes might be connected, but they eventually push that aside and go on a shopping date. Ganyu and Keqing are discussing the events of the day, with the former asking where the details of the sanctification spell came from, seeing as there was no information in the Yuhuai Pavilion. Keqing tells her that an anonymous letter revealed everything, leading Ganyu to realize it was Xianyun behind it all. The Adepti are all having a celebration with Zhongli, praising Hu Tao's strength. Mooncarver then reveals that Dao Tu had voluntarily allowed himself to be sanctified, and if he had been malevolent, not even 8 Adepti could have saved them. The party then spends some time discussing Hu Tao's name, and I notice a little friend. Village. It'd be Do you see the crab? Look at this crab right here. And with their conversation ending, so too does this year's Lantern Rite. I really hope you enjoyed this year's Lantern Rite. I know it's tough with the voice actor strike, so I hope I managed to make it a little more entertaining. Also, this style of video is really new to me, so be sure to let me know if you like the whole recapping voiceover stuff. And lastly, I want to apologize for the lack of streams and videos recently. I messed up my schedule a bit and haven't had the discipline to make stuff consistently, but I have some ideas I'm working on that I think will be really cool to watch. So with all that said, I think that's about it. As always, thank you for your time and have a wonderful day.
That won't ever change. Yeah, sometimes I'm mad, sometimes I'm okay. Yeah, I know I'll have what I want someday. I need my space now so I can feel nothing. I live this nightmare so